Welcome to video lecture number 3 for chapter 15. In this lecture, I'm so sorry, but we are going to cover viral, fungal, and parasitic infections of the skin. So we're going to start with viral infections, and we're going to start with warts. Warts is also known as verruca, and they are caused by the human papillomavirus, which invades the epidermis of your skin and causes the outer epidermal cells to produce a roughened projection from the skin's surface. Now, there are different types of warts, and if that interests you, good for you, look into it. It really grosses me out to look at close-up pictures of warts, but over time, your body is actually supposed to build up a resistance and fight warts off itself so you stop getting them over time, but it may take months or as many as 2 years for the warts to actually disappear even after you've built up that resistance, and some warts actually don't ever go away. One treatment method that a lot of people use to get rid of warts is peeling products. They're gels or liquids or pads. They come in all different sorts of forms, but they all contain salicylic acid, and they work by peeling away the dead skin cells of the wart one by one to gradually dissolve it. And I've actually also seen duct tape used in the same fashion to remove warts. You just use it to peel the layers of dead skin off one by one, and it actually works fairly well, so I've read. The next viral infection is Varicella Zoster virus, which we have talked about before. This causes chickenpox in people who are unvaccinated, and it causes macules, which are small flat spots on the skin, papules, which are small elevated areas on the skin, and vesicles, which are small fluid-filled sacs like blisters to form on the skin. Like we've talked about before, the virus can then remain dormant in the peripheral nerves for literally decades before it erupts again as the more painful vesicles of herpes zoster, which you should know as shingles, because we have talked about that before. That's it for viral infections. We're now going to move on to fungal infections of the skin. The first one is tinea. Tinea is a general term for a group of related skin infections caused by different species of fungi. Now, the fungi feed off keratin that is produced in the layers of your skin. It's also what makes up your nails and your hair. And the different types of tinea take their name from the location of the infection. So the first one we'll talk about is Tinea pedis, also known as athlete's foot, and this is a fungal infection of the foot, or tinea of the foot. So the fungus usually causes symptoms like itching, redness, peeling of the foot, especially between the toes like you see in that disgusting picture. This is part of the reason why you wear sandals in a shared shower, like at college or in the locker room. You should be wearing sandals in the shower. It's to prevent yourself from having this fungus that was washed off someone else's foot begin growing on your foot. Tinea capitis, also known as ringworm, is a fungal infection of the scalp. It can also be found on the eyebrows and eyelashes. Like all fungal infections, ringworm is highly contagious. If you read about ringworm ever, it talks a lot about how kids are the most common people to get it because they rub heads together. So that's fun, but it can really affect anyone. And the fungus is going to make circular marks on the skin that often have flat centers and raised borders, which is how it gets its name ringworm. The fungus affects your scalp and hair shafts and usually causes small patches of itchy and scaly skin like what you really see in that left-hand picture. Tinea Icarus, also known as jock itch, is a fungal infection of the groin. The fungus usually spreads from animals or the soil or by direct contact with an infected individual. And individuals with jock itch usually develop a rash in warm, moist areas of their body, like their groin and their inner thighs. And the rash usually starts on the skin in the crease located in the groin. Then it spreads to the upper thigh in either a half moon shape, or it can also take the shape of a ring. And it usually has a border of like small blisters, kind of like you see on this person. The rash also might feel itchy, it might burn, and the skin is usually going to become flaky or scaly. The last fungal infection I'm going to talk about is Candida. Candida is a yeast-like fungus that can produce recurrent infections of the skin, nails, and mucous membranes. The first sign usually is a recurrent diaper rash or thrush in infants, and then as you get older, like in older children who have Candida, they usually show recurrent or persistent lesions on the scalp, and in adults, chronic candidiasis can cause thrush. And if you remember thrush, it's the fungal infection located in your mouth, like what's shown in that picture of the tongue that looks yellow. It is my least favorite of all the diseases I talk about in this class. So I'm going to move on. The last group of disorders for this video are parasitic infections, and it literally makes me itchy just thinking about talking about this, so I'm really sorry. A parasite is an organism that lives with and feeds off of another organism. So when you have a parasite in or on your body, or multiple parasites, doctors are going to call it an infestation, not an infection. The first parasitic infestation we'll talk about is lice. Lice are small, wingless, blood-sucking parasites that produce a disease called pediculosis by attaching their eggs, which are also known as nits, to your hair and your clothes. Symptoms of pediculosis include intense itching, a tickling feeling from the movement of your hair due to the little dudes crawling around up there. You might see some small red bumps on your scalp, neck, and shoulders. And obviously actually seeing either the lice itself or its legs is a sign that you have lice. Scabies, also known as itch mites, produce an intense itching rash, often in the genital area. It can also appear in the waist or in your armpits. Another term for armpits that's on your list for this chapter is axillae. That is the plural form. The singular form, one armpit, is known as an axilla. These mites live and lay their eggs underneath your skin, which leads to itching and usually a rash. The last thing I'm going to say about this, because I'm seriously feeling super itchy just talking about this, is that you might see track-like burrows in the skin, like the bottom left-hand picture on your screen. These are literally they're raised lines that are created when the female mites tunnel just under the surface of the skin, creating a burrow to lay anywhere from 10 to 25 eggs inside. And that is super disgusting. The last parasitic infestation I'm going to talk about is dust mites. We literally shed millions of skin cells every single day, which is what makes up a majority of the dust that's located in our houses, and especially what makes up the dust that covers our dashboards in our cars. The dust mite thrives off of the keratin in these cells, so they live really well on carpets, on upholstery, pillows, mattresses. But dust mites and bed bugs are not the same thing. Bed bugs bite you, like they literally leave visible bites on your skin, while dust mites don't actually bite you at all. They can just cause a skin rash sometimes. But the biggest deal with dust mites is that a lot of people are actually allergic to inhaling the feces of these parasites. It's actually one of the most common allergy and asthma triggers located in your house. So if you have like really bad allergies that you just can't get a hold on, you might be allergic to inhaling the feces of dust mites that are located in your house. And on that note, I am going to be done with video lecture number 3.